It's the summer of 2009, and I'm 13 years old, riding shotgun in my grandfather's pickup truck somewhere between the feed store and the highway outside Lafayette, Indiana. The windows are down, the fields are flat and endless, and Walt Briggs, my grandfather, is driving exactly 8 miles under the speed limit because, as he always said, there's no good reason to be in a hurry when you don't owe anyone anything. We'd stopped at the feed store, the kind with a screen door that slaps shut behind you and smells like sawdust and something alive. And while he was talking to the man behind the counter, I found a quarter on the floor, picked it up, held it out to show him on the way back to the truck. He looked at it for a long second and said, "Put it in your pocket, boy, but don't get too attached." I had absolutely no idea what that meant. I figured he was just being old. But I tucked the quarter away, because that summer I was very serious about money. I had a system, a black composition notebook I kept in my back pocket everywhere I went. Every dollar that came in, every dollar that went out, written in 2 columns I'd labeled in and out in red marker. I tracked everything. A pack of gum, a Gatorade from the gas station, 40 cents I found in the couch cushions. I'd seen a documentary about a self-made millionaire who said he wrote down every purchase for 30 years, and I was convinced that was the whole secret. I was 13. My grandfather glanced over at the notebook sticking out of my pocket and asked what it was. I explained the system, very thoroughly. He stared at the road for a moment. Then he started laughing. Slow at first, then the kind of laugh that takes over a man's whole body. "You been writing down your gum money," he said. "Every cent," I told him proudly. He shook his head. Lord have mercy. I didn't think it was funny. I thought he didn't understand data-driven financial discipline. I was 13. But here's what nobody tells you about Walt Briggs. He grew up with nothing. His father left when he was 8. His mother worked the overnight shift at a factory in Terre Haute, and there were 6 kids sharing a bathroom the size of a closet. He started working at 15. Farm jobs, hauling, anything. And for years, he saved every dollar he could. Coffee can on the shelf, folded bills and a Bible by the bed. He told anyone who'd listen that saving money was the only real protection a working man had. So one winter, when the furnace in his rental house gave out, he felt ready. He cracked open that coffee can and laid it all out on the kitchen table. It wasn't enough. It wasn't even close. He told me this story once, only once, sitting on his porch at dusk. He said he sat on the cold floor of that kitchen and felt like a man who'd spent years bailing water out of a leaking boat with a teaspoon, working every day, getting nowhere. So he did something that made absolutely no sense. He took what was left, maybe $55, and he bought 4 laying hens from a neighbor 2 farms over. Scraggly, bad-tempered birds that he kept in a wire pen behind the house. His plan was simple. Eggs. Sell them to neighbors, use the money to buy more hens. Keep going. My grandmother Loretta didn't speak to him for 3 days. But he told me, somewhere on that highway between the feed store and home, "Son, money sitting still is money waiting to disappear. But money working in the yard? That's a different animal entirely." I nodded. I was 13 and thought I understood. I understood nothing. Fast forward 6 years. I'm a sophomore in college, Columbus, Ohio. It's October, and I'm sitting in my dorm room staring at my laptop screen. I'd spent 4 years tracking aggressively. Every birthday check, every summer job, every 20 my mom pressed into my hand before I left for school. I had a number I was proud of. I thought about it the way some people think about a safety net, like it was there, solid, real, between me and anything bad. Then my laptop died, the one I needed for class. A medical bill came in the same week, and my car registration was due. I watched that account drain to $43 in less than 8 days. Gum money. Lord have mercy. I sat there for a long time, and then, without really thinking about it, I picked up my phone and called my grandfather. He answered on the second ring. His voice was the same as it always was, unhurried, like he still had nowhere to be. I told him what happened. I told him about the savings I'd been building for years, and about the $43, and about how none of it mattered because it was all just gone. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What were you doing with that money all those months when nothing went wrong?" I said, "Saving it." He said, "And now it's gone." Yeah. So what did the saving do? I didn't answer. I didn't have one. And in that silence, bad connection, October cold, halfway across the state from anyone who knew me, something shifted. Not dramatically, not like a scene from a movie, more like the way a stuck window finally gives when you stop forcing it and just lift with your knees. I thought about those 4 hens, the $55 he spent while the house was still cold. I thought about how by the time I was in middle school, he had 22 birds, sold eggs to 4 families on his road, and used the income to cover property taxes every year. He never got rich. He didn't drive a new truck or take vacations anywhere warm. But he never sat in front of a laptop staring at $43 either. Because he hadn't been holding the money. He'd been growing it. Even when the start was ugly and small and made absolutely no sense to the woman who shared his bed. 2 years ago, I drove back out to Lafayette in the fall. We sat on the porch, same as always. He still had birds, different ones, obviously, but still. He was quiet for a while. Then he pointed at one of the hens moving through the yard and said, without looking at me, "Saving money is like catching rain in your hands. You can do it, but it slips through eventually." He looked over at me then. But if you plant something, even something small, even something that makes your wife stop speaking to you for 3 days, it grows after you stop watching it. I didn't say anything back. There wasn't anything to say. I just watched the chickens. And I thought about a 13-year-old kid in a pickup truck, holding a quarter he'd found on the floor of a feed store, and a man who told him, without explaining why, "Don't get too attached." He knew, even then. It was never about what you kept. It was always about what you built. If this story stayed with you, pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. A new story is just a couple of days away. We'll see you then.